right, HBCU Legends fans. It's Kyle T. Mosley of HBCU Legends on Sports Illustrated's Fan Nation. And we have a good one today. We have Mr. Curtis Symonds, who is the president of HBCU Go. We're going to talk about their full slate of games that they're presenting, but also some of the great things that HBCU Go with Mr. Byron Allen, those guys, what you guys are doing at Allen Media Group. So welcome to HBCU Legends. How you doing, Mr. Symonds?
Kyle, it's a pleasure to be here with you today, man. Looking forward to that conversation, man. And thank you for having me.
Look, HBCU Go, you guys are doing some great things. I know when in the infancy, I spoke to Byron when he took over and he was going, you know, he had the Griot and had HBCU Go as his babies, just trying to get things up and running. But you guys have done a tremendous job the first season, and you're going into the second season. Of course, you have the great Charlie Neal as your announcer, and you have a great slate of hosts and co-hosts, especially with the basketball format. You had an all-female format as well. Yes. That did an outstanding job. I think Miss Moulton, I had a chance to speak with her as well.
Yes, she did.
But tell me, what's the next step for you guys? I mean, we know what you guys have been doing, and we know that you've put on some SWAC, MEAC, ciaa, and now the big announcement this past summer with the SIAC. You guys are covering the gamut for the major four HBCU conferences. So what's next for HBCU Go?
I think what's next for us is to continue to create events around the HBCU circle. We want to be the creator of events that circle and give exposure to these schools across the country. I mean, the key behind, when I sold this company to Byron 2 years ago, Kyle, the key behind it was trying to drive exposure to historical Black colleges and universities. I graduated from Central State University in Ohio, grew up actually on the campus. My mother worked there teaching for 40 years. My dad worked in the maintenance department for 50 years. So I had a great flavor of the HBCU circle. So now what I'm trying to create with the help of Byron through Allen Media Group is really give education, likeness, understanding, and the history of historical Black colleges. So as you will see the circle, you know, the game that we wanted to play last year was, let's get in the game. The game, first of all, is well known as Black college sports. That's what mainly HBCUs are known for. But at the same point is there's other programming like lifestyle programming, educational programming that we want to actually add in down the road. But we knew we had to get into the game first by trying to go after the Black college sports. So we got our SWAC deal done, which was major. The goal last year was to really put a good product on the floor. I mean, that's what I was riding Byron the whole. I said, we don't want to go out there and people looking at us saying, look at this product. This is terrible. You know, that's why everybody's on ESPN or ABC or it's, Fox or whoever. But we put a good product on the table last year with the conference, and where too we got a lot of fan reaction. And I think one of the differences between us and the other groups are that when you have a legendary John Kelly and the great Charlie Neal, and now we've added a few other good people on there on the football coverage, the history and thinking that they give you is an education in itself. Yes. Charlie can take you back to the 70s and 80s and talk about some players' fathers that he telegraphed back to.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's to me, that's the education of what the history is there. He also is able to tell the stories that are really linked to the HBCU circle. And John's done a good job of really being his wingman and really coming along and doing his history and coming up with some great respondents on some of the things that Charlie's talking about. So we've got a good flow, and along with, sideline people are very good with Nina and a few others that are doing a great job for us out there. I mean, Charlie is an orchestrator, as I call him. I look at his talent as his orchestra, and he's the commander, because he's basically educating everybody and taking them through the lessons that need to be learned in growing to understand what you're bringing to the table. So I think what really bears forward for us, man, is that as we build on these conferences, we're trying to do 10-year deals with everybody, is to grow and create more events. Like we like to, one of the goals of Byron is to create our own bowl games after the seasons. Why not? Why can't it be HBCU schools playing PWIs or HBCU schools playing, a SWAC playing a SIC school, vice versa, but at least getting the fact that you can get these schools in more bowl games, which they constantly get left out in the current circle that they're in right now. So we can stretch those games out from ending in November and stretch it through the end of December and going into after Christmas would be great. And then take basketball the same way. I mean, our goal down the road with basketball is to try to combine all the conferences. Why is it just an MEAC conference? Why can't we create our own 64?
Right. Man, I love it.
Put all the schools together and let's create a true champion within the HBCU circle. And I think it would create a major environment, because one of the things that you have from HBCUs is loyalty of the audience. You have so many alumni who are just embedded into the schools, that there would be a drawing out there. And I think we probably would see the same thing. I ran the WNBA Washington Mystics for a couple of years, and I think it would be a similar process where we have to keep educating the public on the strength of what these schools bring to the table if you create this own 64 or what. Because if you think about it, Kyle, why is it that in the 64 today or 68 today, SWAC is always the 16th seed. MEAC is the 16th seed. Always. Right. Never, regardless if you're 28 and 0, you're still a 16th seed.
Right. And even though Texas Southern the past couple of seasons has won that play-in tournament.
Yeah. But why do we have to always be in a play-in tournament? That's what I don't get. And the fact it is, to me, it devalues the efforts. Right. Like I say, if you're 28 and 0 and you're still in the playing game, come on, man. Yeah. If you're 20 and 0 and you're a Big Five, you ain't playing the playing game.
Right.
You're an 8 seed, 7 seed, maybe better than that.
You said something earlier that kind of struck in a chord with me, is because I've talked to other media professionals, and we want to see an extended season.
Yes.
Like you said, the bowl games or whatever. Or, we have the classics, right? You have the Bayou Classic. You have this, I think, the 13 major classics that go around HBCUs, and it's great. But what we are missing is, like, why can't we have one of the teams go to a nice place and play for and have their fans on these journeys that you see from the SEC, the ACC, the Big 12, the Big 10, and all this other stuff, right? We have to get to that point. Do you think you guys will be able to bring an event like this coming up in 2024 or 2025?
I think it's a 2025 push that we're going to try to go for, because the goal right now is to lock all these contracts down and then try to get everyone thinking on the same page. The problem has been, man, and I was a factor of it in my old days at BET, is that, these conferences have not had a lot of confidence in media, because they've been burnt so many times in media. So many people come by and say, hey, let me get the SWAC, let me get this. And then they do a deal with no distribution, and then they walk away within 6 months. And you don't hear them. So, now what we're trying to build within the HBCU Go circle is the trust of the conferences, that we're not going anywhere. We're trying to, Byron has made it very clear, we are trying to help you. So
is that why it was important for you guys to have 10-year deals in place?
Yes, because we wanted to try to show the conferences that we're long-term, that which makes sense to me. We're long-term. We're not trying to get, out as soon as we get in. We are steadfast on helping to grow these universities from as far as getting more students there, more butts in the seats, helping out with endowments, helping out get the alumni more engaged, because now that alumni can start seeing there's a destination, you don't have to keep flipping through the channel and say, well, what time does it come on? And you get it 2 a.m.
Yeah.
Now you got a destination. HBCU Go is a destination now.
You're right. It's always tape delay. It used to be tape delay.
Ain't no question. No question, Kyle. I mean, it was embarrassing, man. I came from ESPN to BT, and I will never forget the first week I was on the job, man. When football started up there, they were talking about 2-week delay. I said, 2-week delay?
A 2-week delay.
2-week delay, Kyle.
Wow.
That's
no respect.
Right. I said, we got to go live.
Yeah.
And that's the same way we feel now. We got to go live. I think the big thing that we're doing this year that I think is history is we're, as a Black network, creating double headers for Black college sports. No one's done that before.
Right.
Now you'll be able to come off a syndication game and be able to watch another game on the Griot and HBCU Go.
And also what I like what you guys have done is because you're layering the different conferences that usually don't get the exposure like the SIAC as well as the CIAA.
No question.
You will see the MEAC, you'll see the SWAC, of course. Right. But when it comes to those conferences, they have a good following.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
Jackie McWilliams over at the CIAA, excellent
she's done a great job,
commissioner.
Man. Yeah, she's a great commissioner. She's
commissioner.
She has grown that property very well over her years. She's done a super job, and I'm glad to be in partnership with her because she does what she says. She gets it done. I give Jackie credit. Her and Sonia Stills with the MEAC. Even though some schools are pulled out, they in Sonia's position, she's done a great job of holding together. And you got to give her credit. North Carolina Central was the challenge last year. That's big. At the end of the day.
Yeah, and you look at what the MEAC has been able to do. I know her first 2 seasons, so she wins with Buddy Pugh and South Carolina State. Then, like you said, this past season with North Carolina Central, and they had a great basketball tournament as well. And right now, a couple of the young guys are playing in the NBA on rosters in training camp.
Right.
So that's an outstanding job for the MEAC and what they're accomplishing. Talk about what you guys have done as well, because I know Charlie handpicked, like Laurencia was one of his handpicked assignments to have her a part of the female crew that you guys have at HBCU Go Sports. But also, how will you guys expand that basketball exposure this season coming up? Because you had over 20 plus games this past year?
Total over 60 games all
60. All right, I apologize. Games, 60 games.
And we came. I was so proud of the team last year, Kyle, that we were behind the 8 ball coming into football last year because we got the SWAC deal signed late, and then we rolled right into basketball and didn't miss a beat. I mean, my crew really, really jumped on the bandwagon and did a super, super job. And I think that because we were able to do so good of a job, the amount of people who are constantly coming at us now who would like to be part of our team going into 23-24 is outstanding. I mean, I think you'll see some big names pop out that you'll be like, wow, they doing HBCU games, that's great. So I think that they haven't made a formal announcement on all the basketball stuff yet, but I think you'll see some great names come in that'll pop in who are former announcing elsewhere, but are good names looking to try to expand some and understanding this audience. I think the biggest thing, Kyle, that our announcers feel is they understand the audience, so they know how to talk to the audience. I think that's a plus, man, because you need to understand it so that you can help the alumni, the viewing audience, the newbies understand what we are trying to accomplish at the end of the day. And I think that's really the measurement of what we're trying to bring to the table.
Yeah, and it's important, like you said before, with Charlie Neal, knowing the history, right?
Yes.
And when you talk about HBCU commentary, history is number one. If you don't know the history, I've listened to, I think it was one Celebration Bowl. These guys in the booth knew nothing about the history. If it were not for Jay Walker,
right,
being there,
right,
it was a mystery.
Right.
And how did they get there and leave Tiffany Green on the sideline? I could not understand that.
Right.
But they write it the ship, I should say, bad English and all,
Right.
this past season. Are you guys thinking about expanding into the baseball tournament? Because the
Yes.
baseball, hey man, we've got to get more of these young
Yes.
men exposure in front of MLBs, like with the Swingman Classic. Ken Griffey Jr. did an excellent job. Travis Scott down here he does a great job with the MLB. Houston Astros having a classic, and to be able to help HBCUs.
Yeah, they brought.
What's your plan?
Our plan is to follow that footstep. I mean, number one, we want, we're not just doing, I preach to all the presidents, we're not just doing football and basketball. Our goal, Kyle, is to do all sports. Now there's, you got Fist down there with a gymnastics team. So we want to figure out ways.
Tougaloo as well. They're opening one.
Exactly. And I think you're going to see that grow. You got hockey popping in now.
Yes, Tennessee State.
Girls rugby popping in at Howard. That's
yes.
Yes. So I think the goal for us is to definitely drive more exposure into the non, as they say, qualified sports, so that people can see the atmosphere that these schools are opening up. You have schools going into lacrosse.
Morehouse.
Exactly.
They had a lacrosse.
So we look to try to have, to feature some of that on. Because, lacrosse, I finally got into it, and it's like, it's a great sport. And you're starting to see more and more African-American men and women getting into it, because it's certainly a great sport to get a scholarship off of at the end of the day.
Mr. Symonds, you said something that was very key there, because my son and I were watching the All-Star lacrosse game, and they had several African-American men who were all-stars and the best of the best out there playing. And of course, we lost Jim Brown, who was
the best,
an All-American at lacrosse at Syracuse.
Right. He was the best. I mean, that's a very interesting point on that, Kyle, because we have taught our kids the traditionals, and we've not taught them the non-traditionals. So most kids wake up today and say, I gotta be a football, basketball player. Well, that's fine. No one's knocking you for the thinking. But look at the bigger picture here when you're going to college. When you're trying to go to college today, there's a lot of opportunity in non-traditional sports. Lacrosse, hockey, golf, softball, baseball. If you become good in those sports, somebody is going to give you a scholarship, whether it be D1, D2, D3, NAI. Someone is going to give you some money at the end of the day.
There was a long time, Deacon Wilson, he just passed away here in the Houston area. He taught a lot of tennis players.
Okay.
And he taught the kids from elementary up to high school. And his goal was say, hey, you may not be the best tennis player, but I want them to give you a scholarship so you can get an education to go wherever you want to go to and enhance your chances there. And I think he accounted for, like, Zena Harrison was one of his pupils. So golf. A lot. I've interviewed Howard golf program. I've interviewed the young man from Morehouse who was a part of the Pathways USGA program this year. I've interviewed North Carolina A&T, and J.R. Smith is there, and Steph Curry has a presence at Howard University. We have not seen an HBCU golf tournament televised. Can you guys think about that?
Yes, sir. That's something I've been talking to several people on that topic. In fact, the PGA is one because they, their first tee program is trying to figure out how it's been. But in general, what I found out, Kyle, is that a lot of the HBCUs have disbanded their golf programs. So what I've been talking to some people about is creating a giant tour that is based on who wants to golf out of an HBCU. And create a national champ out of that, and project it in a way that, depending on the score, where's the movement from there? Can they go to the amateur PGA tournament? and see if they could get a hit in it, depending on their score, if they qualify. So yes, we are looking at that down the road for sure. That I think that and tennis are two big areas that there's some great young African American at a lot of these schools, but they don't get exposed. And remember, those are two of the most expensive sports to get into. That's one thing that holds us all back. Is that most of the kids who have talent can't afford it unless they got some kind of big time sponsor. And nine times out of 10, that's a white person. Mom and dad can't do it. It's got to be you got to be somebody you just happen to be sitting in the park and somebody ride by and say, "Oh wow."
And you know what else had limited some of our programs from growing was the fact of travel. Going to some of the tournaments, especially if you're on the East Coast, headed to a tournament to the West Coast. You talk about hundreds and hundreds of dollars, possibly thousands of dollars, just to be able to stay, accommodate the team and the players, and to feed them and to travel. It got very expensive. So that has been alleviated by some of the programs. I know United Airlines has gotten involved with providing $10,000 Scout dollars per HBCU program to help alleviate the need for travel there for some of those major programs. So
I think you'll see some more support down the road. I think Steph did a good job stepping up for Howard, and I think you'll see more. I've had several calls. It hadn't to be lately, from people who at corporations saying, "What if I got my boss to come up with $10 million and said, I want to help out Coppin State with a program?"
Yeah.
Would they turn it down? I don't think so.
No.
They would definitely cherish it. So I think that, down the road, you'll start seeing that door open up. I think, to your point, but it's got to be some exposure so that people can see it. That seeing is believing is the name of the game. If you can definitely get it seen, where people can say, "Damn, I didn't know over at Prairie View they had this kid that played like this, and he scored a 71 in golf. Oh my God, where is he? That kind of thing." Because I always believe in the hidden God, Kyle. That there's somebody out there that can bless you, man. They just gotta see it. And then when you say the word like, "Well, I like to do X, Y, Z, but I can't get to the park every day."
Excellent point, because we had conversations with, I think it was the Texas Southern program, the women's program. That's 2 years back to back. They won the SWAC championship. And when I wrote the article, little did even people at Texas Southern knew how well they were doing. So those are the things just to get that exposure. And if HBCU Go could be on the forefront of that, that'll be excellent for you guys, and another feather in the cap for
I think one of the things that we're trying to accomplish this year, that I've been driving the nail on, Kyle, is driving the brand. When I was at BET for 14 years, I was executive vice president of marketing there. And when I first came into BET in 1988, man, I will never forget this day, Kyle. I walked down the street and saw 5 Black people. And I said, "Hey, what do you know about BET?" "What? Who is that? What are you talking about?"
Had no idea.
Bob that day and said, "Bob," the next day I said, "Bob, we got a branding problem, man." I said, "You got people here in DC, you've been here for 8 years and don't even know who BET is. That's terrible." So I hate to go outside DC and start asking the same question. And I think that what I learned from that is that we've now put a quality product on the table. We now has got the name out there at HBCU Go. And now people are resonating it more and more. I'm seeing more people coming. Anytime I wear HBCU, whatever, people walk up to, "You're the guy that runs that HBCU channel, aren't you?" That kind of thing. And the branding is so important, Kyle, that people know where to go. Then they understand where the destination lies. And I think by laying in double headers this year, football and basketball, picking up other little specials here and there, picking up volleyball, baseball, softball from whatever conference it is, and being able to drive more, that will drive more people to the table saying, I got to watch that channel. I got to see what's going on at HBCU Go now, because it might be my granddaughter, my daughter, or my son, nephew, whatever it might be, but they're on that channel. And I think what's going to do is, I coach high school basketball here in Virginia at a pretty popular Catholic school that's we're really good in basketball. And of course, we're predominantly Black. And I think what it will drive is kids, the 4 and 5 star kids saying, you know what? Maybe I should try this school. Maybe I don't need to go to Duke. Because my words to players, look, let me tell you something. If you can play, they will find you. Okay? They will find you. Now, if you put the work in, you might get to the next level.
That's right.
That's right. It ain't always about work. You come from,
Yeah, you're right about that, Mr. Symonds, because it's about the work, man. If you're able to put the hard work in, the dedication, and the commitment to your craft, it's going to show up in the end.
No question.
It always does it at every level I've been at every different industry I've been in. It shows up the same way. The ones who work hard, smart, learn, apply, move on, and move up. Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about this before we get off the line. HBCU Go. I know you guys this year have added a few of the classics to your football schedule as well. Talk about the season ahead and what the audience should expect.
Well, we're very excited about it. We have like 3 different packages out there. To your point, we have our syndication package, which is basically made up of more of our SWAC coverage. And so we open up the season September 2nd with the Chicago Football Classic featuring Central State University out of the SIC, Mississippi Valley out of SWAC at Soldier Field. This is a 25-year project that's been out there, been dead for a few years because of the pandemic. Bringing it back this year, I think the city is very excited. The Rand brothers and Larry Higgins, who's also part of the organizers, they have done a super job of incorporating the city into this game, and we're very excited. I got a 3-year contract with them. I'm very excited about being this as our opener. Then we go the following week to Southern Heritage in Memphis, Fred Jones's Classic, which has been out there for 30 plus years.
Yeah,
it's probably the second biggest now to the Bayou, and they're featuring Arkansas Pine Bluff against Tennessee State and Eddie George. I think that's going to be another big game that we're very, very excited. I helped Fred years ago when I was at BT get exposure to BT. Now to have the opportunity to have my own network doing his game, I'm very excited about it. I think it's going to be a wonderful, wonderful atmosphere. I mean, he's got Gladys Knight coming in to perform on Thursday night. He's got another big name coming in to perform. He's got the glam and the glitter going with it. So I think it's going to be spectacular. And then I think one of the most exciting things on the schedule this year that the audience is really going to love. We got 5 homecomings, and I think the 5 homecomings, Kyle, the one thing that I think we bring to the table, because I ride my people on this one word: bringing the culture and the environment to the TV. Okay. And I think if you're able to show homecoming when people, celebrating with each other, they've been bonding for years, showing all the atmosphere. The game is a piece of it, but that's a major piece of it. And then you throw the bands in there, that's the added icing on the cake, that just really drives, because that battle is going to be so heavy, especially during homecomings. When everybody's there and you got so many people bringing back the memories and the glitter and the glam of all it. So I think that we're going to be driving a lot of good atmospheres this year. And the goal is, with all the conferences, is driving more butts in the seats. More butts in the seats.
Yeah.
And I think if we're putting television cameras around you, it's going to help drive more butts in the seats, because people want to be seen. They want their brothers and sisters to see them out there cheering for their school, or mom and dad, grandmother, whatever. They ain't there. So I think it's going to help drive more butts in the seat for school. And also, the schools are very, very committed to help drive that this year across the board. So I'm very excited about, the season. I think we feature 5 SIAC games. We've got 5 CIAA games and the CIAA football championship. So, I mean, we're really excited, man. I think we've got a great schedule that, our audience will enjoy. Again, the magic word for me, it is that destination. You're not going to be able to say, I don't know where to find it. No. You're going to be able to find it. And I think, my syndication guy gave me some information today, for this today, and it was great numbers. You're talking about we are now, think about this, Kyle, we will now be in 73% of television households across the country, 78% of African-American households. We were in 67 of the top 100 markets, and we're free. I mean, I don't know how anyone can look past that, Kyle, at the end of the day. I'm not asking you to pay for it. We're free.
Free entertainment, free exposure, free opportunity to see your school that you root for and love so much.
You got it.
That you hadn't been able to go to one of the home games for a long time. It's right there on HBCU Go.
Yes, sir.
Last thing, I always want to ask this question because when talking to Byron, and we've had several conversations, even behind the scenes, how did you get your foot in the door in media? Because a lot of young people today, they see the story, but they don't know the pains and trials and tribulations that led up to the glory. So how did you get started, Mr. Symonds?
I mean, my story is very simple, Kyle. Number one was, that's what I said to young Black people and young kids today, not just African-American kids, but I speak to a lot of groups. I'm a PE major. My background was really to follow my mother's footsteps, who was a PE teacher at Central State University. But I was fortunate to literally stumble into the media business, Kyle, and got on working with a cable system called Continental Cablevision in Ohio, and luckily was able to run the cable system for 3 years in my own city I grew up at, Senior, Ohio. Wow. And then I jumped from there to Chicago and got hooked in with ESPN. And that's what I kind of realized then, Kyle, that, there wasn't a lot of us there. And I said, this is a spot to make my mark at. So then I focused on building what I thought was the Curtis Symonds brand. And so I made myself, I got to every meeting I could get to, join every organization I could get with, to just keep putting my name out there. Okay. And I had 8 good years at ESPN, and talked to Bob Johnson. We run each other cable shows. And it was all, like I said, just me and him, the only real African-Americans out there. It was more lily white than anything. And then in 88, Bob called me out the blue and said, listen, man, I need somebody to run all of my affiliate marketing. My job was always distribution. That's what I did. And I said, and when he first talked to me, it kind of blew over my head, and I talked to my wife, and we were talking about opportunities. And I said, you know what? I know what Bob was doing, but he just didn't come and say it out loud. He wanted me to talk to him about me coming there, So I called him back up and said, look, man, why don't we sit down and have a conversation? So I flew to DC and talked to Bob, and I had heard all the horror stories about Bob. Bob was, micromanaged. He was not the guy you want to work for. He's not going to pay you what you're worth, blah, blah, blah. And I just sat down and we had a real man-to-man conversation. I said, listen, I could come work for you and help you turn this thing around, but I'm not the kind of guy that needs to be micromanaged. If you're going to let me do my thing, I'm your man. If you're going to sit there and be in my drawers every day, I'm not your man. I'm not your man. Okay. So I said, if we can agree on that, let's look at it. He said, no. You come in here, man. Look at it this way. And I use this line all the time because it was a very profound line he gave me. He said, think about this, Curtis. Affiliate marketing is your own company. You drive that company. And anything goes down, I'm looking at you. You're the president of that company. You drive it. And that's what he did, man. For 14 years, I was able to grow. I mean, I grew the my team grew the bum from 18 million to 100 million. You know, it's in viewers. And when I left, I felt good about it. I mean, because I could leave and know that I helped grow BET from a small network into a big network. And also I knew that, you know, I did a great job. My team did a great job on growing the brand across the world, not just the country, the world. I mean, I had us in Africa, London, Europe, you know, I mean, we were everywhere. You know, everybody, I mean, and the thing about it is, and that's why I tell people now at HBCU Go, Kyle, is that people get caught up and say, oh, well, you know, it's only going to be African American. No. We are a product. We are a culture that drives crossover. People know what we do on a regular basis.
They sure
They
do.
watch what we wear. They watch what we walk. They watch
talk, everything.
The whole 9 yards. It's our culture that drives what people think in the world. You can go to anywhere. You can go anywhere in the world. If a basketball player wears a baggy shorts, some kid over in Japan is wearing baggy shorts. It's just the way it is. That's the real world.
But you know what? Mr. Symonds has been like that since what, 20s and 30s as well.
No question. No question.
You know, I remember my grandmother telling me about a certain aspect because she lived in New Orleans, but she attended Atlanta University, got her master's there, and went up to NYU and did a postgrad, right? But she was talking about how the influence of our culture she noticed at New Orleans, Atlanta, and all the way in the East Coast was seeping off into other cultures. You know,
totally
yeah. I mean, think about it.
It's been part of our life, man. I mean, when every time I watch movies that are made now, and to your point of the old days, you're exactly right. You're right on point. Everything was copied. That's why we become so much of an endangered species, because people want to walk, talk, and be like us. It's the same thing that Nike does with Michael. I want to be like Mike. They want to be like us.
That's right.
That's been a song that's been sang through our whole lives.
Yeah. See, I grew up. So I'm a 60s baby. But I grew up primarily in the 70s, right? And remember, it was jive talk. You know, jive talk, right? Then you saw Norman Lear, the king of black exploitation, with Good Times and the Jeffersons and everything else, take advantage of the project life, behind the scenes, or how is it for a black man to grow and become successful. You saw Sanford and Son and things of that nature. And what I'm saying is all this. Even back then, when JJ said dynamite, then the next thing you saw, it was on shirts. It was on apparel. Then you saw the bucket hats all over the place, right? So all of that, and I'm saying this, is that we have an opportunity right now, becoming more intelligent, more in control of our media. This is a great time for young professionals to be able to groom their talents and take it to the next level, because I think it's going to come to a point where some of the, like HBCU Go, you got HBCU Plus, UEN Network, and all those other guys, you know, and Todd Brown and Byron are good friends. So, but you see all of what you guys are doing is just, you guys are the pioneers right now, again, taking it to another level where the streaming is the control, because everybody's cutting the cord.
No question.
It's going to be very important that we are able to get those advertising dollars, like Byron was saying, he fought for.
That's his anchor.
Right. Get the advertising dollars and put it in where? Our pockets.
I think that's the hardest part of life that we have to fight with, is that, to Byron's point, which he makes a very good reasoning on his thinking, is that they still don't look at us with value. They
Yeah.
still won't look. And that goes back to what you just talked about, like with your grandmother and all that. We still looked at it like sitting back on the back of the bus. Don't matter. It doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. That mindset will never change. And it's sad that it had to take George Floyd being killed for people to say, "Oh, we need to commit to the Black community more." Are you serious? What's sad is that when you go into the education world, they don't tell the real story about who founded what. We're always told, "Oh, that was Franklin who found electricity." That was such. Never telling the real story about all the African American men and women who were first.
And the man who worked for Alexander Graham Bell was really the one who invented the telephone.
Yeah, and you look at the hidden figures. No one knew the lady was behind. It going
the
up.
Astronauts. Yes.
Right. I'm not going up unless she stamps the numbers. No one ever heard that story about until the movie came out. And she's true. From West Virginia State University, the HBCU.
That's
okay.
True.
So it's the world we live in, man, and it's a hard world because the other piece behind it is all geared on money. Money. Michael Douglas says something in the movie Wall Street that I just believe is the real true word. Money is the pimp of life. If you don't have it, you're in the doghouse. If you do have it, it's easy to run by people because you got the money and say, "You know what? Here, this $10 go away."
Yeah, go away. Yeah.
Bottom line.
Bottom line. And it's so true. And that's why I've been trying to train my son to understand the business side of what we're doing as far as journalism is concerned. Not only understanding how to put together the video or how to write an article, but understanding what you do, you are your brand. Right. You are the one who commands the respect, like Byron has been fighting for, that we deserve. Hey, give us those advertising dollars. And I had one last conversation, and maybe you could be able to expound on this one as well. When it comes to fighting for our brands, what advice would you give to a young person, especially coming, let's say they're 2-3 years or even straight coming out of college at this time? What advice would you give to them on embarking into the world of media?
Well, I think one of the things that you have to be careful of as a young African American man or woman coming into the game is you have to be patient. You have to be patient. And you have to also be selective in a way. Once you get in the door, you want to show people, number one, I'm not after your job. I'm trying to learn. Because a lot of times we get placed in jobs because we need this minority over here, so put that person over there, put Curtis Symonds over here and have him work with Kyle and have Kyle show him a couple of tricks and just keep him happy for a minute and we'll see what we do.
Pacify him.
Exactly. And so, the key that I learned in the game was learn to play the game. Learn to play the game, Kyle. Because everybody's trying to get up the ladder, men and women. Always trying to get up the ladder. But you got to learn how to play the game to get in the door. And then the other thing I think is really important is what I learned in my steps was that you got to have people who support you, Kyle, to get you the movement. If they don't support you, man, if you have a supervisor who's always just in your stuff, doesn't really give you the light of day, always talking negative, never giving you real positive feedback, come to the evaluation, want to chew you up and spit you out in the evaluation. That ain't the way to get up the ladder. You got to have somebody who says, "Hey, Kyle, come on up to this meeting with me. I want to show you a couple of tricks while I'm in this meeting that you can maybe use down the road." So now you get the experience. You're with a trailblazer, and now you're sitting side by side as you're watching them work and learning and listening. So then when your opportunity comes up, you you have to act like that person, but you might take a couple of pieces of what you learned from that person in order to close the deal. And I think once you're able to get that confidence under your belt, and I use that word hardly, confidence under your belt, Kyle, then you start trickulating up the ladder. Because confidence is the key. Like in sports. Once you get confidence, I mean, for me, I felt I had confidence after I was 26 years old. Because of the fact that, I knew how to talk to people, And one thing was said to me early on in college that I didn't take seriously when I was younger, and it probably hit me till I was like 30-something, is that my first boss in the television business that when I was running cable said to me, Curtis, you're going to go a long way because you have a great personality, and people come to you because of your personality. You just attract people. And I didn't really gravitate to that conversation strong at all. But then I noticed, man, after about when I got 26, 27 years old, I could walk in a room and take over a room.
Yeah.
Easily.
Yeah.
And I mean, just run the show. And once I got that confidence like that, Kyle, that helped my stair step tremendously. Because I wasn't afraid to say something to somebody.
Yeah.
I just wasn't. And I was fortunate to have people who allowed me to take that step, and then it just helped me progress. And then I was getting into meetings, I'll never forget when I first met Ted Turner. I was 33 years old, sitting on his board, and Bob would take me to a meeting, and I was telling him I was just glad to meet the guy. I heard so much about him. And I told him, I said, you know what? I said, Mr. Turner, I said, I'm gonna be on one of these boards soon that you're sitting on. And I'm gonna make some noise when I come in the room. He said, Curtis, I hear you. I'll wait and see it. Sure enough, in about another year, Bob gave up all his seats and gave them to me. So now I'm sitting right next to the table at him.
Wow.
And we used to have some great conversations because I respected Ted. Ted was a country boy.
Yeah.
I mean, but he had the money, he had the backing, and he would say whatever he wanted at the table. Didn't matter. But he respected you if you said the truth to him. That's what I learned from him.
Yeah, a lot of guys, if y'all don't know who Mr. Symonds is talking about, Ted Turner, who's the innovator and the founder of CNN. So, yeah. So he was a pretty dynamic guy.
He was outstanding.
And, one thing I appreciated about him, because I attended Morehouse, and at that time, they were just coming into their own at that time. But they gave opportunities to some of my fellow Morehouse brothers. Sure. And that was the important thing right there. If you had an opportunity to go to Turner Network.
Yeah, that was big.
You did pretty good. Yeah, you did good. Big. All right. Ms. Symonds, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Hey, Kyle, thank you very much, man. It was a great conversation, man. I'm glad you were able to do it. Looking forward to seeing it when you run it, because I always say things I have to remember, like, oh, what did I say in that? You have to catch myself, and somebody will see it and say, man, I didn't know about this. You said this. And I'm like, really? I did say that? So I look forward to it, man.
Look, and I love it because I love to learn, and I love to be able to kind of pick brains, and you said something that was very key for me, because at Morehouse, we were taught not to be afraid of anything. So as Morehouse men, when we went out to the world, and my first job was at Exxon, I should say, I shouldn't use the name, but anyway, I was there, and these guys were like, who are you, you young buck? And it was one of the things that kind of I tried to instill into my son. Don't be afraid.
Yeah.
Be tenacious. Always fight for your rights and the principles and what you believe in. Learn as much as you can. But when you're doing it, make sure that you reach back and help somebody else.
Well, that's a very good line to close on, Kyle, because that's one of, I think, the understatements in our community. We don't know how to reach back and help people who are trying to help themselves. And I think that's the thing in our culture I just can't seem to understand, man. And it's just it's a very strong deterrent of who we are, because we'll go out and buy a car, but we won't give somebody $5.
How about this, Mr. Symonds, and a lot of these young people on social media, and they swear by social media, right? Mm-hmm. Sometimes you have the support that another social media content creator needs is that you simply say like.
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
give a positive comment.
Yeah.
Or something to that nature that can help as much as, like you say, a kind word or whatever. If you don't have a chance to give a kind word, give a thumbs up.
Yeah.
And help them out. So
no, I think you're right on point, man. And by the way, right before we close out, my oldest son graduated from Morehouse, so I'm with you on that Morehouse thing. That's a strong place right there.
What's his name, if you don't mind?
Curtis Symonds. He lives in Atlanta.
He does. All right.
He finished in 06.
06. Okay, I'm a long time ahead of him. 1989, man.
I got you.
It would have been 88. My dad passed away my sophomore year, and took me a little time to kind of get it through it.
I can understand.
It was one of the best things that ever happened to me in life, was to be able to attend Morehouse, not because of the education, but it was the common sense education, the practical life lessons that we learned at the institution. And that's what a lot of HBCU students are starting to figure out by attending in droves these days. So
I think you're right on point on that, Kyle, and I hope that people really take that message to heart, because that's the difference that I preach in the PVI and the PWIs, because you can't get that, what you just said. You can't get that. Definitely. Only at HBCU. And that's what you learn. That's what you learn. All right.
Before you get off, stick around after we sign off. I want to ask a question, but guys, this is Mr. Curtis Symonds. He is the president of HBCU Go. He's Byron Allen's right hand. He's the one who puts it all together. I appreciate that. And it's been look, I need to have you back on. I need to have you to talk to a little bit further. I need to pick your brain, and we need to hear some of the information that you can be able to bestow upon us as well.
Kyle, you got me any day of the week, man. I love these kind of interviews, the heart to heart. So just let Jenny know when you want to hook it up, and I'm in.
All right. I'm Kyle T. Mosley of HBCU Legends. This is Mr. Curtis Symonds, the president of HBCU Go. Thank you, Curtis.
Thank you, Kyle.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.